Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well and that you are enjoying some really good days lately. Um, I'm a little nervous about what I want to talk about today because it's something that hits on a little bit of some shame buttons for me. Um, a couple weeks ago, I was doing some SEL coaching with some fabulous counselors. And one of the things that we were talking about is how to make social emotional learning skills development very explicit for students and really focusing in on what are some of their strengths that they're bringing to the table. And then what is a skill or two that would help them achieve their goals and help them move them from point A to point B. And what can the counselor and the student co create together to actively work on developing those skills and monitoring them. And then we talked about what were some of the barriers to being able to do this. And one of the things that the counselors talked about is just the sheer number of students that they're working with and how oftentimes things are happening that they have to be responsive to. And so looking at working with an individual student in a proactive, preventative way is sometimes difficult when fires keep popping up throughout the day. Completely understand that. And then they said that one of the other frustrations that they have is that when they're talking with the students about these SEL skills and are working on developing them, but then they move to another classroom and they find out they had an outburst or an interaction or some sort of conflict with the teacher in that room. And it's like they completely forgot about what we were talking about and behaved in a way that was the direct opposite of what we were hoping for. And the first thing that popped into my mind was that this is what I do for a living. This is what I have embedded myself in for the last 17 years. And I actively think about these 5 SEL competencies multiple times throughout the day for me. And how am I doing? And how can I monitor and adjust with my own behavior? And over the break, I was having a conversation with somebody, and they brought up a topic that provokes me, that I find really hard to have a conversation around because of some experiences that I've had in the past. And I know sometimes people use this word trigger, and I don't necessarily care for that word. So I'm trying to use the word provoke. And I said to this person, you know what? I have a really hard time talking about this topic, and especially the way that it's being presented. I really don't want to talk about this right now. And the person kind of like, "You can't ever have a conversation with you. It's hard to talk to you. You don't want to listen." And I lost my sense of self, right? And at one point, I raised my voice back, and I'm feeling like this deep sense of shame right now thinking about that. But it reminds me of how we know what to do, but then sometimes when we're in different situations, that knowing goes out of the window and the doing becomes really, really hard. And I had lunch yesterday with a friend of mine, Dr. Randy Ziegenfuss, and he was talking about this, the knowing doing gap, and how as adults at 45 years old, there is this one person who can still dysregulate me, even after I try to have these calm conversations and explain how I'm feeling, that I act in a way that I'm not proud of and that I want to be able to take back. And so, what if we held our students to the same standards that we hold ourselves to? And if we respond to our students in the moment the same way that, or with the same grace that we would want somebody to hold us to. And so I understand that they're younger, they're growing, but we're also growing in these skills. And how can we really take that time to pause and reflect? I feel like life goes by so fast that we often forget about what our North Star is, what our main purpose is, how we want to respond to something because we're immediately called to act. A friend of mine shared a quote, and I don't know who said it, but I am going to look it up here, that we are not thinking beings who have feelings. We are feeling beings who think. And so our primary gut reaction is to have an emotion and a thought that leads to a behavior. And if we can pause before we have that behavior, and even sometimes when we know we're in a situation that's going to provoke us, we can't always respond in a way that we're proud of or that we want to. And so, how can we work that into what we're doing with our students? Thinking about giving a sense of grace, asking them to take a pause, slowing things down for all of us so that we can really focus on what is most essential and most important. And that is, what are the skills that we want our students to develop? What are those skills that we need to be modeling for them so that they can develop them with us and that we can co-create this relationship in this learning environment where everybody can thrive in an emotionally and physically safe way? I'd love to hear your thoughts, even if it is just a Krista, you're not alone. And I get dysregulated even when I'm working on growing as a person and trying to do better. And I guess it comes down to one of my favorite quotes again from Maya Angelou. You can tell I think in quotes now, right? Um, when you know better, do better. And I constantly am striving to do better. And I've been rethinking this situation um, and how I can respond next time. So it's kind of a, if I had a do-over, and what I can do next time to prep myself so that I can be better. And perhaps those are things that we can talk to our students about as well.